Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be picking some of the worst plants in Plants vs Zombies 2. This time, we're going to be doing it a little differently. I'm going to be picking the 12 worst plants from each world, from ancient Egypt to modern day. Also, tutorial plants will be made as a separate category. But before we get into the list, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything new in the channel. Without further ado, let's get into the worst plants list. First, let's check the tutorial plants, and the worst one is the potato mine. Tutorial plants are like the most basic plants to use. You get a sun producer, a straight shooter plant, a lobber, a defensive plant, and an instant kill, which is the potato mine's role. The potato mine is useful at the start of the match and can kill zombies within a tile. So why is it the worst? There is one reason why the potato mine is the worst out of all the tutorial plants, and that is being outclassed by other plants. There's the primal potato mine, which is just potato mine but way better. The primal potato mine is basically a potato mine plus a cherry bomb, and it only costs 50 sun. Because of this, who even needs to use the potato mine after obtaining the primal version? I think the potato mine is only useful for beginners. But once you get more plants, the potato mine will be more useless. Now let's look at ancient Egypt, and the worst one is the Grave Buster. The Grave Buster is only useful in ancient Egypt and Dark Ages. In ancient Egypt, it isn't really necessary to take out the graves because the graves aren't that useful, but in Dark Ages, it is essential. There are graves that gave you sun or plant food, and since there are no sun falling from the sky, the Grave Buster can be used to obtain sun from destroying sun graves. Aside from that though, the Grave Buster is useless in other words because there are no graves present in the worlds. So its use is pretty limited. One good thing I could say about the Grave Buster is at least he's good on what he does. The next world we're going to be looking at is Pirate Seas, and the worst one is the Spring Bean. Pirate Seas has the most plants out of any world, and out of all of them, the Spring Bean is the most useless in my opinion. The Spring Bean used to be the so-called best plant in the game, with its combo with the blubber using its plant food that can literally kill every single zombie in the map. But that got patched, so now it's redundant. Now it's only useful in Pirate Seas, and in other worlds, the Spring Bean only launches the zombie by one tile, which is pitiful when the Char Guard can do way better than that. I think he did 3 columns or something like that. Another thing that makes the Spring Bean bad is that after he launches a zombie, he will be inactive for 10 seconds. This is way too long, especially when a 10-second recharge in the game already feels very long. So don't use this plant, even in Pirate Seas, it's terrible. The next world is the Wild West, and the worst one is the Chili Bean. The Chili Bean costs 50 stun, and what it does is it kills the zombie that eats it and releases gas that stuns the zombies behind it. The problem is, just like the potato mine, there are a lot of other plants that cost 50 stun but have way better effects. Squash, Shrinking Violet, especially Primal Potato Mine, all of those plants have very good effects, and they only cost 50 sun. Its plant food is like the potato mine, just duplicate itself to random tiles, but you can just use the primal potato mine to do that. Overall, bad plant and easily outclassed. The next world is Frostbite Caves, and the worst one is the hot potato. The hot potato basically heats up a frozen plant so the plant can be active. She also costs 0 sun, which is very cheap. But there are 2 problems with the hot potato. One of them is that all the other fire plants can heat up frozen plants in a 3x3 area, and the fire plants cannot be frozen as, of course, there are fire plants. The other problem is that the hot potato cannot be used in other worlds and arena, which means its use is pretty limited. I wonder when have I heard that quote. However, there's one good thing about the hot potato, other than being cheap, and it's that if you level her up to level 5, she can melt octopus thrown by octo zombie. But leveling her up to level 5 will take a really long time. The next world is the Lost City, and the worst one is the Gold Leaf. The Gold Leaf is the last plant obtained in Lost City, which is a problem considering there are only 6 levels remaining in the world, and in only 3 levels you could use the Gold Leaf. Another huge problem, just like the last plant, about the Gold Leaf is that it can't be used in other worlds and arena. This is a problem since this will restrict players from using the Gold Leaf so the only way to play Gold Leaf is by replaying Lost City levels and playing the Temple of Bloom, the world's endless zone. Now we're going to the far future, and the worst plant is the tile turnip. Unlike the previous two plants, the tile turnip is not restricted. Thank God. The tile turnip acts like the power tiles, which is useful for using plant food. However, this comes with a cost. The tile turnip's sun cost will go up tremendously, first from 0, then 250, then 500, and so on. I'm very much not a big fan of this because I have to constantly spend sun to use this plant. Does it even help when the sun cost gets up every time I plant it? This plant is just way too costly for me to use. We're now in the dark ages, and the worst plant is the Sunbeam. The Sunbeam is a sun producer plant that needs to be eaten to give sun. The zombie that eats it must be damaged in order to give sun. The main problem is, if there are a lot of zombies, you would have to kill some zombies to kill the zombie that ate the Sunbeam. Another issue from the Sunbeam is that it has a slow recharge, which is pretty rare for a sun producing plant. I'd rather plant a sun producer that can produce sun permanently rather than plant a sun producer that can only produce sun temporarily, only when the zombie is dead. Maybe this plant could be useful if it's boosted. The next world is Neon Mixtape Tour, the music world, as I like to call, and the worst plant is the Fime Warp. The Fime Warp is also another world exclusive plant, which gives it a disadvantage. What's up with these kind of plants? There's also another problem about the Fime Warp, and that is, when it does its ability, warping the zombies to the last column, that is, it also heals the zombies. You could use this plant in Greatest Hits, the world's endless zone, but I rarely play Neon Mixtape Tour. The next world is the Jurassic Marsh, and the worst plant is the Perfume Mushroom. This list is getting repetitive of the plants that are mostly restricted, as you can't really use those plants other than the world they are introduced in. The Perfume Mushroom has a slow recharge, which is terrible if dinosaurs spawn in multiple different rows. You can use plant food to instantly recharge this plant, but plant food is also restricted, so I'd rather wait. Just like the previous plant, you could use this plant in the world's endless zone. I think the name was Tarpits. I think that's the name. I think I got that right. Nothing much to say here. The second to last world on the list is Big Wave Beach, and the worst one is the Tango Kelp. I promise you, this is the last world exclusive plant we are going to talk about. The Tango Kelp is basically a water version of a single-use plant. It's okay, but there are better options. What makes the Tango Kelp bad is how incompetent it is at picking zombies. If there's like a horde of zombies, I don't think the Tango Kelp will target the zombie you want him to target. Its plant food is just to reach in and eliminate 3 more zombies. At least, the lily pad can be used to plant other plants, like an offensive plant, a defensive plant. And the final world we're going to be talking about is modern day, and the worst one is the nightshade. The moonflower is almost essential to be used with the shadow plants because the moonflower also powers up the shadow plants, other than being a terrible sun producer, that is. When not powered up, the shadow plants can be okay, but not the nightshade. The nightshade is just awful if not powered up by the moonflower. It will only shoot its leaves 3 times at close range, and once the 3 leaves are gone, you won't do anything. That's it. That's all it's gonna be doing. It's just gonna chill. The nightshade is the shadow plant that is most dependent on the moonflower, since when powered up, he can regrow his leaves and has higher damage. If you want to use this plant, pair it up with the moonflower. The same can be said to all the shadow plants. Alright, so those are the worst plants in Plants vs Zombies 2 in my opinion. What is your opinion on the worst plants in PVZ2? Leave a comment and tell me what is your opinion about the worst plants in PVZ2 are. Thanks for watching this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to my channel. And I will see y'all next video.